Well, hello there everyone. Bella here, your favorite content creation specialist over at Self-Publishing School, and welcome back, or just welcome if you've never been here before. Either way, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll get into today's topic, which you do not want to miss. Trust me. Now on to today's topic. We will be talking all about the mistakes that authors often make when self-publishing their book and why some don't find success through this very lucrative avenue of self-publishing. While self-publishing is on the rise significantly, it still has a bad reputation to some people due largely to these mistakes. People often don't see self-publishing as a viable career option just because a lot of self-published authors make these mistakes and it actually hurts their sales, which means they don't make any money. And when you don't make any money as a self-published author, you end up becoming one of those statistics that make self-publishing look bad. When I was first researching which avenue I wanted to pursue when it came to my author career, I, for about 2 seconds, thought that traditional publishing was what you always went for and self-publishing was only what you did when you couldn't make it as a traditionally published author. Now, thank goodness for my own research skills because I quickly learned that's not the case at all. What I actually learned is that self-publishing your book is better. There's really not another word that can describe it. Obviously, what's better depends on you, your situation, and what your goals are with publishing in general. But if you do make the right decision to self-publish, you need to avoid these common mistakes that are just gonna drag you down and not make you successful in your publishing journey. Mistake number 1, ignoring marketing. Now, the common misconception is that traditional publishers handle all the marketing for you. When self-publishing, you have to market everything yourself. This is typically the reason a lot of people want to go the traditional route because they don't know really anything about marketing. Now, the fact of the matter is most traditional publishing houses are not going to put their marketing dollars towards your book. They really save all of that for their big names or the people who have the next multi-million-dollar thing. Basically, their goal is turning profit, which means if they're not completely sure that your book is going to turn a profit, they're not going to put that much money into marketing it. Which means even if you publish traditionally, you're going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to marketing as well. They may provide a little bit, some resources, some book signings, but really the majority of the marketing and the author platform building is up to you anyway. So how does this relate to self-publishing mistakes? Well, a lot of self-publishers don't do marketing. They put themselves online maybe, and they publish their book and they really leave it up to Amazon or whatever other publishing platform that they're using to bring them the sales. And that's just not really how it works. You have to research marketing. You have to know about marketing and building an author platform if you want to self-publish your book. I actually did this right away. The second I decided I was going to self-publish, which just made the most sense to me, I created my own writing website where I talk about writing tips and just the process of writing a book and my updates of writing my own book as well. And I created matching social channels so that I was talking about writing a book, I was putting my experience out there, and I was connecting with other authors and other readers. So when it's time for me to self-publish my book, I have an audience to actually sell to. And that's really the power of marketing as a self-published author. You really need to build that audience for yourself. Mistake number 2 that many self-published authors make, they don't learn from somebody who's already been there before. Publishing a book is a really big deal. It's really hard. There are a lot of moving parts, and that means that you need something to help you along the way. One of the best ways to do that is to find somebody who's done it before and figure out how they did it. Ask them questions. You can even maybe buy a system that basically does the whole entire thing for you, like what we do at Self-Publishing School. Really, what you want to do is find a system that works for you and works in general to sell. And you really want that system to be by somebody who's done it before, they know how everything works, they know what's gonna make you successful. And many self-published authors just don't know where to turn to in order to learn. And that has held them back significantly because they're making the same mistakes that somebody has already made before. And if you have somebody to tell you, hey, don't do that, then you're gonna be a lot more successful. Mistake number 3 is not getting your book professionally edited. I am a huge advocate of professional edits. Even if you are a professional editor, you still need to have another professional editor edit your book. And the reason for this is because you are too close to the material. You know it all, and you can't really see your flaws. I know what you're thinking. Hello, I'm a writer. I see all of the flaws. There's too many of them. I hate my writing. Believe me, I've been there. But being insecure about your writing is not being able to see the flaws. Mainly what we focus on when we don't like our writing are just things that we want to improve. They're not necessarily flaws within the whole story or your book as a whole. What you see in your own writing is tainted by your insecurities and the fact that you know what's going to happen. So you aren't seeing things clearly. You need somebody who's coming into your book with fresh eyes, who can look over everything from punctuation to grammar to, yes, the actual plot, especially if you're writing fiction. Never skip the developmental edit, ever. Very important. Basically, you should not self-publish your book without having an editor look at it. A professional editor, somebody who has the credentials to edit books. This is probably the #1 reason that self-publishing gets a bad reputation, because people open self-publishing books and they're full of errors, because a lot of authors don't want to invest in having the book self-edited. But I'm telling you right now, if I go on Amazon and I click the little look inside feature and I see grammar mistakes and typos on the first page, I'm really not going to buy the book, because I don't want to have to read through all of those issues, you know what I mean? You'll have a lot more sales if you get your book professionally edited, and therefore it's worth it to hire a professional editor. Don't make the mistake of not editing your book. Mistake number 4, you don't get any feedback. This one really gets to me, because I know how hard it is to give your writing to somebody else to read and then give you actual feedback on. It's one thing to be like, hey, read this. It's another to be like, hey, read this, tell me what's wrong with it. That is very hard to do as a person, and therefore this step is very difficult, and so a lot of self-published authors skip it, and this really hurts their writing, because you don't know how your writing comes across to different types of people, or just people in general. Your narrative could make complete sense to you and then not make sense to anybody else. You need to know what works and what doesn't, and how your audience will receive what you want them to receive, and that's where feedback comes in. I highly suggest people do beta reading, even if it's a small group of people. You give your book to them, they read it, and then you ask questions about the book. And just, you want to make sure that it's clear, that what you're saying is clear and everybody's understanding everything in the way that you want them to. Without having this, you end up with a number of different problems, and people could misinterpret what you're trying to say, creating issues, and ultimately lowering your star rating and your sales. Mistake number 5. Not having a launch plan. The launch of your book is a huge deal, and if you're not putting in any effort to plan this and make it successful, you're making a huge mistake. But it's something a lot of self-published authors do. They just kind of plan a launch date and really don't do anything leading up to it other than hit that publish button on the day of, and then they sit there wondering why they didn't really have any launch day sales. Make sure you have a launch plan put together so you know exactly what you should be doing on the days leading up to and including the launch day. Mistake number 6, not having a launch team. Just like I said before, you need a launch plan if you're planning to self-publish a book. Traditionally, published authors also have launch plans, and included with those are launch teams. You may have also heard this referred to as a street team. They're both the same thing. It's a group of people who help you promote, market, and launch your book. These people are really excited about what you're writing, and they want to help. When self-published authors don't create a launch team, they really severely handicap their launch. Your launch team are people who can have larger audiences. They don't necessarily have to, but they have to be people who are willing to talk about your book and promote it and review it and do a lot of different things that have to do with you and your book. It is a bit of responsibility, so you really want to make sure that you're bringing on people who are devoted and ready to work with you. Where can you find these lovely people who want to help with your book launch? Most of our students actually find their launch teams within our self-publishing school mastermind community on Facebook. This is an exclusive group where they just talk about their writing, their journeys, their marketing, publishing, really anything that they are going through, they post in this group, and it's also where people go to find launch team members. Basically, they just publish a post asking if anybody's interested in joining their launch team, and boom, they have a launch team. If you do want a little bit more information on building a launch team, we do have a blog post for that, and I will link that in the description below. Mistake number 7, not having a plan for after your launch. Believe it or not, your work isn't done when you just publish your book. You have to maintain those sales, and you have to continuously plan to market your book. The reason so many self-published authors lack success is simply because they don't really plan to market and increase the longevity of their sales. They really market for that launch, and then their sales kind of plateau, because you have to continuously work towards getting those sales. And it does get easier the longer your book has been out, just because you'll get more reviews and whatnot, but you really do need a plan for after your launch to continue promoting your book on a regular basis. And if you do need any additional marketing help, we have a blog post all about that as well. I'll link it down below. Self-publishing is a lot like traditional publishing, except you have 100% of the creative control and you get to keep all of your earnings. As long as you avoid making these mistakes, you can find success as a self-published author. And that's all I've got for you today. If you're a self-published author who has made some of these mistakes or knows any other mistakes that people should avoid, comment them down below. While you're down there, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and make sure to follow us on social for more writing tips. You'll also want to check out our free training where Chandler takes you through everything you need to write and publish your book within 90 days or even less if you're really driven and motivated. Everything will be linked down below. Thank you for watching.